And we are back with another episode of the Take Talk podcast here on the Fantasy Points Podcast Network. I'm your host, Brett Whitefield, and we got Stephen O'Rourke, my co-host, sitting right there, looking spiffy with the blue and on blue. I like it. Steve, how's it going? How are you doing this morning?
Doing great. I feel like this is the first time I've worn something different in like the last 3 weeks. I realized like the 3 weeks prior, I had just accidentally worn the same shirt. And it's not just because I was wearing the same shirt for 3 weeks straight, but I noticed today, I'm like, oh, I'm not wearing that. There's this like golf pullover I have. And I realized it's like my morning shirt. I don't know. It's weird, but I'm not wearing it today. Something will switch it up a little bit.
My morning shirt. That's just sounds unnecessarily bougie. This is my morning shirt.
It's not. If anything, it's the opposite of that.
I don't know why, but this reminded me of a guy I trained jiu-jitsu with. He shows up to the academy in like this Versace bathrobe.
Oh God.
And it's like it's like fur. Like he drives a Range Rover, pulls up, he gets out of his truck in this Versace bathrobe. Then he goes into the locker room to change into his jiu-jitsu clothes. And then when he leaves, he puts the Versace bathrobe back on. It's incredible, dude. I'm like, I mean, wow.
That would make me think that you're practicing with a prize fighter there. That like,
right?
You have this like prize fighter, UFC or boxer who just like shows up at your gym, struts around, does his thing, and then gets out of there.
Yeah, basically. Let's dive into some NFL news real quick. Only thing of note, Steve, is we got Jalen Ramsey's practice window being activated today. 21-day window there. That should help the Miami secondary, which has been kind of bad.
Yeah, it should help their defense as a whole. It's like the one weak spot. Well, one of like two maybe, but like a weak spot has been their defense. And I don't know if their defense can take a step up, then look out to the rest of the NFL, because that can be dangerous with a high-flying offense and a defense that can shut down the pass.
Yeah, for sure. There wasn't anything else, right? That was it?
I don't think so. I feel like the only other thing that's happening this week is that Chargers fan thing going around right now. That's about the only other.
Oh, the one where the woman got called being a paid actor or something?
Yeah. I don't know how people have time to care about that.
I don't even know if you're like the account that did that. Wasn't that like an aggregator account too?
Yeah.
So why are you putting your nose where it doesn't belong? You're a content aggregator.
Because that's what they thrive on, is just if there's not a storyline, they create the storyline that then gives them the content to aggregate for the week. That's just like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy with that one. It's just stupid.
Yeah, man. So stupid. All right, let's dive into two truths and a lie. And this week it is my turn to go at it. Steve, this was tough. I don't like to lie in general, so it's really hard for me to come up with something here. But anyways, I'm just going to rapid fire these. You tell me which one's a lie.
All right.
I've been to 5 continents. I don't work out. I think anabolic steroids are bad.
I don't know. This is going to be a tough one. I think it's I don't work out.
That's correct. That was the lie.
You've been to 5 continents?
Yeah.
What, Australia?
I used to travel for
North America?
North America, South America, Africa, Asia, and Europe.
Oh, you haven't been to Australia? Is one of the two that you haven't been to.
Australia, which I would love to go to, by the way.
Same.
That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Antarctica, no interest really. Maybe. No.
I mean, you're not a researcher, and that's about it. I think that's the only reason to go down there, is if you're like you're a biologist or a researcher of some kind. Then
right, and I have no interest in checking 7 off my list. It's not like a bucket list item for me. So
right,
there's no reason to go.
Right,
Australia would be dope. I definitely plan on doing that soon. So
yeah, I have a family member that goes every year because his brother lives down there, and he has nothing but awesome things to say about it.
Nice. I have some old friends that live in Melbourne, Australia. So I'd love to go check that out. Yeah, and I don't think anabolic steroids are bad. I think everyone should be on anabolic steroids.
I like it.
And then I do work out, so that was the lie. You skipped it out. I don't know how you got that one.
I don't know. It was tough. It took me a second.
The reality is, I just wanted to start the show, and I don't want to sit here and think about it. So we made it easy.
We'll save the more thought-provoking one for another day.
Yes. All right, dude. Let's. One quick thing I wanted to do before we're going to go game by game this week and pick them. We survived a terrible slate in week 6, and we're going to have to do it again in week 7. Well, I think this is a little better, but my God. Anyways.
Yeah.
Before we dive into that, I thought, 6 weeks into the season, at least everyone's played 5 games. We could have a brief intro to the MVP discussion. I know it's really early, but things have been, I don't think, as advertised. Like this season, like I don't know who your front runners are for MVP, but I bet you the 3 guys we end up discussing, we probably wouldn't have discussed before the season started.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I guess the question I wanted to go is the Lions here are sitting 5-1. The resume is outstanding. They've 3-0 on the road. They've beat 3 first place teams. They've beat the Kansas City Chiefs, the defending Super Bowl champs. They have won 3 games in a row by 14 points or more. I'm sorry, 4 games in a row by 14 points or more. That has never happened in our lifetime, Steve. The last time that happened was in the 1960s.
Yeah.
So where does Jared Goff sit on the MVP totem pole right now?
I mean, gosh, he's top 2. I think like 2 or 3. I think, like, in my opinion, he's doing everything that you would want from an MVP candidate. Like, he has operated so incredibly well. He's moving the offense, operating the offense well. His numbers look great. He's, top 5 in just about all the metrics that you would care about for a quarterback. And now they've put up 20 points in they're 20 plus points in their last 15 games, which also would, like, if you go back to last year, which also is, a record and something that I don't think has happened in our lifetimes either with the Lions. And so I just don't know how, like, I can see where, if you want to lead the conversation off with Tua, I could understand that if you're a fan. And, there's obviously some other guys that deserve to be at least discussed. But if I don't know, if Jared Goff isn't on your short list right now, I think that you're dealing with a little bit of bias. And listen, I get it. It's hard to get behind the Lions being good and the Lions being this legitimate contender. It's not something we've seen in a long time. So, like, I understand, but I think people are starting to give him his flowers for what he's done, because he's just been so incredibly consistent and is doing all the right things. And that's amidst, not having his full complement of weapons yet this season. We haven't seen it yet this season to have with him with every single, weapon that he could have available to him.
Right.
Now he's missing Montgomery. So that presents a new challenge for him. But every single question that has been asked so far, he's answered. Yeah,
it's been pretty remarkable. I think Tua was one of the other guys I was thinking of when I was mentioning, like, we might not have thought about this guy preseason. Brock Purdy's another one that's probably in the mix, even though I think he kind of got a little exposed this past week. And I think you see what happens when he has to carry the team or steer the ship. I think that's probably a good sign that he's probably going to fall off a little bit. Now, I still think Shanahan's great weapons. I think statistically Purdy will still be very good. But so there's 3 guys right there that no one was talking about as MVP before the season.
No,
they're in the mix though. All 3 of those guys: Tua, Goff, Purdy, and then Mahomes is for sure in there still, right? I mean, what he's doing with,
of course.
It's worse than it was last year. Like last year, he had no pass catchers to work with, or at least no established ones. Juju was like his go-to guy early in the season. Juju and Kelsey, of course. and then Juju got hurt and tailed off, and then it was literally a committee. This year he's running with 7-8 dudes out there, and I think Rashee Rice is establishing himself as the guy, but it's taking some time, and Mahomes is still putting up incredible numbers despite all of this. One thing that's crazy, he's 190 rushing yards on scrambles this year already.
Yeah. You're right. He's playing with what feels like a bottom of the barrel type group. I agree. I think over the next 3 to 5 weeks, I think Rashee Rice is going to emerge as more and more crucial to that passing offense and that offense in general to move the ball. I think that he's going to be a good complement to Kelsey. I think he's already starting to and will continue to establish himself as a go-to target for Mahomes. At this point, all it's going to take is for the Chiefs to actually put him on the field to be able to do that, because he's still operating around like a 40% route share.
It's like slowly coming up, but too slow.
I think last week was his highest percentage of routes, and you saw it. Granted, it was an ugly game, but you saw it, and he made an impact here and there. But I think that that's going to continue to rise, and he's going to continue to be a crucial part of that offense. And I think that you could see him explode a couple times, and the more Mahomes can get an actually good receiver on the field, the better you're going to see him continue to be. But Mahomes is Mahomes. He's always going to be there. It doesn't matter. You can throw me and you out there at receiver, and there's at least a 40% chance that he could make something out of it.
Yeah. Josh Allen, not on my radar right now. Too many ups and downs. The roller coaster swings have been crazy this year. Same with Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts has as many interceptions as Mac Jones, which was a surprising stat that I kind of, it's not like an in-depth advanced stat or anything, but it's pretty crazy that those two guys have thrown the same amount of interceptions, considering every time I watch Mac Jones, I feel like he's throwing interceptions. So
every time I watch, I want to stop watching immediately.
Yes. Stab yourself in the eyeballs.
Yeah. And I don't know when that bias will kind of flip, because right now, if you were to look at like the odds, it does go Tua, then Mahomes, then Josh Allen, then Jalen Hurts, Purdy, Lamar, Trevor, Jared Goff. So you still have,
Goff is 10th then in odds right now.
Right around there.
I'll tell you what, that's actually a pretty solid bet. What are the odds there?
It is. FanDuel right now, I think you can get him for plus 1,900. If you went on DraftKings, you can get him for plus 2,000. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good bet right now.
Let's play a hypothetical game really quick. Let's say the Lions finish the season 13-4 or 14-3. When you look at their schedule, that is 100% in the realm of possibility. They don't. The only two good teams they play left are Baltimore, which they got this week, and then Dallas later in the year. And I don't think Dallas is all that in a bag of chips. So
no, and then
definitely winnable games. Everyone else they're going to be favored in every other. Well, actually, they'll be favored in every game for the remainder of the season, which is crazy. I mean, so there's a real chance they could go 14-3, 13-4. Let's say they do that, and they're the 2 seed in the NFC. They win the division, and Goff keeps pace with his current numbers. I don't see he's going to be a finalist for MVP.
Yes, he has to be.
Right.
I mean, like let's put it this way: if you take his sample size from his last 17 games, so from last season up until now, I think his stats are right around. He's got about 4,400 yards. I think it's about 28 touchdowns, and then like 5-6 interceptions, something like that. And I think that the touchdown number is the one thing.
4 interceptions.
4 interceptions. Sorry. But I think the touchdown numbers is the one thing that could get in his way. Just because, and voters love the gaudy numbers to look at. And it's just not how the Lions offense operates. They obviously are airing it out more. You can see that the trust with Ben Johnson and Jared Goff, I've said it time and time again, but the trust for him to operate and really let loose is there. But listen, the Lions still want to run the ball and they still want to pound the ball. And I honestly, it's not the opponents, it's not the schedule. It's just the operation of that offense that stands in the way of Jared Goff winning this, I think.
They distribute the ball so much too. So, even without Montgomery, they're still going to come out and run it. It's going to be a lot of Gibbs and Reynolds. Reynolds looks good, by the way.
Yeah, he looks really good.
Yeah. Probably a lot better than he did last year, in my opinion. I don't know if he's lighter or something, but he looks like he has more wiggle.
Yeah, especially at this point in the season, I think he looked. He came on later in the year last year, but it's nice to see him involved early this year. And then, I mean, the thing that changes this all is if Jameson Williams continues to develop and can turn into a sort of a guy or part of a guy, then that also could open up the possibility for, those passing numbers to increase just because of the nature of his abilities, his deep threat ability. I mean, that opens it up for a lot more, splash plays, highlight plays, things.
One thing I found
that
really interesting, Steve, is J-Mo's presence on the field this past Sunday really changed what Tampa Bay was doing. They straight doubled him at least once, like a true double team, and they bracketed him a ton. Like they were giving him a lot of extra attention, and he still snapped off Jamel Dean for that on that hitch comeback.
That was
whatever. I'm not even sure what it was with the way it was ran, but I mean, if that ball is a little bit better, he scores on that play. But
yeah, and it also, I think that it was a little bit of Jared Goff. It was a little bit of Jameson. Jameson probably should have worked back to the ball a little bit, but that was hilarious watching that from the all 22 standpoint and seeing Jamel Dean absolutely, he was 10 yards past before he even realized what happened.
It was like someone performed a magic trick on him. He's like, what the? Yeah, I highly doubt too that J-Mo's coached to run that route, like literally on the hash marks.
Right.
He's a little tight to the sideline there. I think Jamel's a big guy. He's one of the biggest corners in the league. I think he probably forced him outside, but J-Mo needs to understand that he's out of place and then work, like you said, work back to the ball naturally a little bit better. But when you beat a guy by that crisply, you're kind of just probably assuming the ball is going to be there. I mean, that was nuts. And then, the touchdown catch was really nice as well. And that was one of Goff's worst throws of the day, actually. And he still hauled that in for a touchdown. So
yeah, good tracking ability on his part. One last thing I do want to ask is, let's say Tyreek Hill breaks the receiving yards record.
Ooh.
Now I know Tua, it's a quarterback centric league. I don't think a wide receiver has ever won MVP, but I think there needs to be more conversation around Tyreek being MVP because they have Jalen Waddle, they have A-Shane, they have McDaniel, but Tyreek he's what stirs the drink of that offense, in my opinion. It starts and stops with him. And so I think I'd like to see his name up there more because he's almost at 1,000 yards and we're not even to week 8 yet.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, he should be in the mix for sure. He's the scariest non-QB in the league by a mile, and he's probably scarier than all but like 5 QBs himself. So
yeah.
I think you're probably onto something there. But we have belabored this intro to MVP discussion way, way too long, Steve. So let's dive in to the week 7 slate. We got 13 games this week, Steve. There's 6 teams on a bye. I know the average fan doesn't care about that, but we do, and that's going to make this week feel like a vacation, quite frankly.
A little bit. I know. I saw the schedule. I saw how many teams were on bye, and I kind of got a little bit giddy. I was like, that means I was like, we might rattle the data off before noon on Monday. Which that's exciting. That's exciting for us, and that's exciting for all the data suites of subscribers.
Yes. All right. The Jacksonville Jaguars travel to New Orleans. The 4-2 Jaguars travel to the 3-3 New Orleans Saints. Trevor Lawrence has kind of been a bit of a mess lately, but they're winning anyways. How do you think this game's going to go, Steve?
It's weird. I mean, Vegas puts New Orleans as a favorite right now. I think they're
Home
about a
team.
point. They're, I mean, yeah, home team, but they're a 1.5 favorite. I like Jacksonville in this. I think Jacksonville's defense has been really good. They've been getting pressure. The offense has been, like you said, up and down, but ETN has been a nice surprise.
Yeah,
I
he's
think
coming
that a lot of people were starting to, harden their opinions about him, but I think that Trevor's going to be able to figure it out enough. New Orleans secondary is solid. Their defense is solid. I just don't trust New Orleans offense. I don't trust Derek Carr. I mean, I've seen so far this year. I've personally seen too much of, if a defense can hem in Derek Carr and keep their receivers at bay, then it reduces them down to 2-yard checkdowns to Alvin Kamara and then 20-yard deep shots, and they're not accurate deep shots. So
it's tough to know what we have because Carr was been hurt. So I'm just waiting for the breakout moment with this group because these receivers are good. They're
really good
offensive line. So
they're really good. I mean, Rashid Shaheed kind of turning into a more functional receiver than I think a lot of people thought. Like he seemed gadgety when he first got in, and that was exciting. But now I think that he's more of a down in, down out type of guy. And with Olave and Michael Thomas being healthy and not back to what he was, but he's functional and he's good at what he does. I think that it's just if there's a chance that this offense could come alive if Derek Carr gets healthy, figures it out, whatever needs to be done gets done.
Yeah. Agreed. All right, let's go like 30 seconds or less for the rest of these games. Are you ready?
Yep.
Detroit travels to Baltimore, 5-1. Lions versus the 4-2 Ravens. This is probably the second best game on the slate. Thoughts?
I think the Lions win this. I think the Lions match up really well with Baltimore. What Baltimore does well, the Lions defend well.
Agreed across all fronts. I don't think the Ravens defense can stop the Lions offense either. So Raiders, 3-3 Raiders travel to the 1-5 Bears. This is a gross game, by the way.
It's disgusting. It's the Raiders. Tyson Bagent is the starting quarterback for the Bears, and he looked like what he is in the time that he played last week.
What's that, an undrafted rookie or someone who played quarterback at Shepherd?
Both, and you could tell because they only ran screen passes, and then the 2 times that they didn't, he fumbled and threw an interception.
Steve, they ran the same exact screen 4 plays in a row. They were just alternating sides like it was freaking Madden. Like, ooh, yeah. Cool. We got the field side now. Let's throw a screen that direction. Oh, cool. Let's flip it left now. We're throwing a screen left. 4 plays in a row. Same personnel, same exact look. Boom.
I don't want to belabor it. Like you said, I don't want to belabor it. But, man, the ability for the Bears to not get DJ Moore involved when they should get DJ Moore involved is impressive at this point. Yes.
3-2 Cleveland Browns travel to the 3-3 Indianapolis Colts. Browns coming off a bye. Who's starting for quarter? It's not Watson, right?
No, he's done for a bit.
Yeah, it's
so PJ Walker will probably stay in. I imagine he was fine. I mean, he was fine enough. But Browns win this. It's their defense is gonna. I don't think Gardner Minshew stands a chance against that defense.
Lord, no. No, they do not. I also misspoke. The Browns are not coming off a bye. They had a bye in week 5.
Yeah, right. They beat San Fran last week. Much to everyone's surprise.
Right. So, the only thing Colts might be able to get going is a little bit of a run game here. The Browns have been able to get run on a little bit the last few weeks.
Yeah.
But that it could be a low-scoring game, though, either way. Like, this could be...
Oh, yeah. This absolutely could be a 13-10, max 17-13, just slugfest between two defenses. I think that... But, I think it'll come down to when the Colts have to throw the ball. It's not going to go very well. You saw it last week. Gardner Minshew struggled when he had to really be a drop-back passer. and the Browns secondary is an even bigger step up from what the Jaguars are.
Absolutely. All right, the 4-2 Buffalo Bills travel to Foxborough to play the 1-5 New England Patriots. I'm not picking the Patriots to win a game the rest of the year. I've been burned twice now in the staff pick'ems, even favorable matchups at home, and they're still just awful. They're terrible. Unfortunately, the Bill Belichick era is probably going to end. I don't know if that's a hot take or not, and it's not. It's just tainting his legacy at this point. So I'm frustrated by it. But anyways, your thoughts?
Yeah, it's the Bills, but I mean, I agree. I don't think that's a hot take. I think that's more of an accepted take at this point, but I just it's the offense is just sad. It's just sad. And it's too bad because I really like that defense. I really do. And they've got a lot of talent and they've got a lot of ability. It stinks that they're missing Matt Judon. You can see where missing Matthew Judon hurts a lot at times because he's a pretty quick to pressure guy. And you can see that they kind of struggle to get pressure quick in a lot of situations, but
they do such a good job of scheming it up, and he's their chess piece. He's their Hassan Reddick, you know.
Right.
They can use him similarly to the way the Eagles use Reddick. You know, it's. I don't want to overemphasize this for like the 4,000th time on this podcast, but you need wide receivers in the NFL, Steve. You can't win without good wide receivers.
Yeah.
At least one.
Bad
for Mac, and Mac looks terrible, and I'm not giving him any excuses, but like for the love of God, he's throwing the ball to absolute scrubs.
Yeah. He finally puts what was probably the best throw of the season into Devontae Parker's hands, and he drops it.
Yeah.
And that was all encompassed the season of what has, and will continue to be for the Patriots.
In a league or in an era of football where there is no excuse to not have wide receivers, somehow the New England Patriots don't have any. It's so weird. Every year there's 20 receivers that are good prospects in the draft. Every free agency, there's a couple guys available, and you end up with nothing always.
It's not like they haven't tried. They've just picked the one guy that isn't.
Well, they haven't drafted someone high in a while. Oh, they did.
Not high. I mean,
Thornton, yeah.
They took Tyquan Thornton. I mean, they took N'Keal Harry before that. So it's, I mean, yeah, they're not taking a ton of swings at it, but when they do, they manage to pick the one guy that turns into a flop amongst a lot of classes that have turned into very good receiving classes.
Belichick has the crazy, and we're getting belabored again, but Belichick has the craziest resume ever when it comes to wide receivers. He literally can't draft them. Like if he spends a day 1 or day 2 pick on a receiver, you know he's a bust. Yet he's found a Deion Branch, a Wes Welker, a Julian Edelman, Kendrick Bourne. Like what the heck? Like how did all those guys?
Did they draft Jacoby Myers?
Yeah, either the 7th round or he was an undrafted free agent that
year.
Yeah, exactly. Like somehow he can find these guys, but he can't actually draft the studs that need to go with them. Like imagine if they would have hit on N'Keal. Like say they take Brandon Ayuk that year instead of N'Keal Harry. Ayuk probably went before Harry, but anyways, let's just say that happens. They take Ayuk, and now they have Ayuk and
they take
Jacoby
AJ
Myers.
Brown.
AJ Brown. That wasn't that year, right? It was, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
That was the Debo. Yeah, Debo, Metcalf, AJ Brown, Terry McLaurin. Any of those guys, you pair them with Jacoby Myers, and you're cooking with gasoline for 5-6 years. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Tom Brady probably never leaves.
Rewriting NFL history right there.
Yeah. Washington Commanders 3-3 travel to. I'm just sad reading some of these games off.
I know it's
Commanders,
ugly.
Giants in in New Jersey, since the Giants are fake.
Yeah, I think it's Washington again. It's the Giants' offense is so listless.
Their run defense is so bad too. I think Brian Robinson they should just give him the ball 30 times and just walk out.
Yeah.
So, all right. The Falcons travel to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is actually a decent matchup, interdivision game. Winner takes control of first place, right? Right?
Yes.
Winner takes control of first place in the division. Yeah, I don't know. This is tough. What do you think?
It's tough. I think I think Tampa Bay wins it, and I think it's because of their defense. I think that, they were able to hem in the Detroit Lions pretty well, a pretty good run game. Now, granted, they missed David Montgomery for most of the game, but I think that they're gonna make Desmond Ridder drop back and win that game for him, and that's the one time. That's the time when Desmond Ridder can't really win games, is when he has to really be a passer, and he can't rely on the run game and a lot of the play action and different ways to scheme it up.
More affirmation that QB wins is not a stat.
Not a stat at all.
I agree. I'm picking Tampa in that one too. I think their defense smothers Atlanta.
15-second question for you.
Okay.
Should the Falcons move off of Desmond Ridder this season, or like in mid-season this season?
Did it look like I froze for a second?
It did.
I was just offended that I was asked that question. Desmond Ridder is terrible. He settled down a little bit the last couple of weeks, and London and Pitts have gotten more involved, and the catchable ball rate's gone up a little bit, but he's just not a guy. Like, not making the big-time plays you need him to make. If he has any modicum of pressure, he can't deliver the football. I would like to see Taylor Heinicke at this point. I'd like to see Ryan Tannehill. I'd like to see anybody not named Desmond Ridder, honestly. Go trade for Mac Jones. I don't freaking care. Try something else. The Pittsburgh Steelers travel to the Los Angeles Rams. It's
an interesting game. But
the point where saying this game also sucks, but yeah,
it does. But this all comes down to how functional the Steelers' offense can be.
Yeah, I think the Rams win this one.
I think so too. Yeah, I think so too.
Cooper Nakua is the duo name I've heard. Cooper Nakua. I think they're gonna go nuts. Or Puka Cup. I think those two should have a field day. Levi Wallace, Patrick Peterson, been bad. And I love the way the Rams are using these guys. Like, they're moving them all around. They don't have a position they play more than other. They're basically playing all three spots 33% of the time or close to it. So.
Right, and they just cycle them through and put cornerbacks and secondaries in hell, trying to figure out how to match up against them.
Yeah, exactly. So you're taking the Rams too?
I take it back. I'm gonna take the Steelers. I think that the Steelers can get pressure, and I think that'll disrupt Stafford. I think they'll win like 13-10. It's gonna be super ugly, but I think that it's just going to be enough pressure, and the Steelers' defensive line will dominate the line of scrimmage that game. So I'm going to be contrarian. I'm going to go the Steelers.
Right on. Arizona Cardinals travel to Seattle in division game. My 5-second take is I think this is a get-right game for Seattle. I think the Cardinal story is cute. They're competitive in every game, but I think Seattle should win this one. And Geno should have a nice bounce back. He's been kind of rough this year so far.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a chance for that passing game to really explode. Geno had a tough matchup. Cincinnati played Geno really well last week. That wasn't the way they schemed their secondary and their coverages was really impressive. And Lou Anarumo he's fun to – his
Big
defenses
Lou
are fun to watch. But, yeah, I think that Geno finally gets to kind of, like you said, settle in, let the ball loose, get both Metcalf. I think that – you can see JSN have a little bit of an explosion game. I think that Seattle wins this pretty handily. Yeah.
I agree with you. The 2-3 Green Bay Packers traveled to Denver. God. This happens every football season. You get to the middle of the year, and when you know more about these teams, you're just like, oh, this looks awful. I don't want to watch this game. This game could be disastrous.
I mean, if Aaron Jones is healthy, I think that the Packers maybe throw the ball 12 to 15 times, and they just run A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones all over the Denver defense. They showed a little bit of fight last week, finally. Their run defense showed a little bit of fight. They didn't look completely lost. But, I mean, I think that the Packers will just dominate the line of scrimmage, and they'll run up and down the field on the Broncos.
Yep. One individual player I like in this game, if you're a DFS or if you're a DFS player, is Jaden Reed. He gets Jaquan McMillan in the secondary there. He's probably the honey hole of the Denver secondary right now. I think coming out of the bye week, there's no way Matt LaFleur doesn't recognize his need to settle Jordan Love down. Quick, rhythmic throws are the way to do that. Some scheme touches, get some jets and screens and shallows going, and Jaden Reed's the guy to do all of that stuff. So big fan of Jaden Reed for this week's slate. The Los Angeles Chargers travel to the Kansas City Chiefs. Interdivision game. Justin Herbert sucks. Yada, yada, yada. I'm taking Patrick Mahomes. That's it.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Chiefs.
Hashtag analysis.
Yeah, I'm going to take half-baked analysis. I'm going to take the Chiefs. I think it's incredible how the Chargers can protect for an entire game, and then when it actually matters and they need to protect Justin Herbert, their pass coverage or their pass protection completely breaks down to a point where Herbert's not able to do anything. It happened in last week's game, and it happened in the Miami game. Same exact thing. It came down to we need one drive to make things happen. Here we go, Justin Herbert, do your thing, and then he has 0.2 seconds to throw the ball, and he has a guy in his face immediately. I don't know what is going on or why teams are able to all of a sudden scheme it up that fast, but I've noticed it a few times this year where when it really comes down to mattering, they can't pass protect.
You know who Justin Herbert is?
Early career Matthew Stafford.
Yes, you nailed it. The same guy. Same gunslinger, can't get it done against decent teams. Will have all these amazing comebacks against bad teams. He'll lead the NFL in comeback win stat for years and years. Oh, he already does, by the way. I think he's got the most of the last 2 years, 15 or something. I think
so.
But against any team that's decent, he crumbles every single time, just like Pat Stafford did. Maybe in 7 years from now, we'll be talking about Justin Herbert getting over the hump and winning something.
Yeah, it'll probably need to be on another team.
Exactly.
These Chiefs Chargers games have always been fun in the Mahomes Herbert era. But the difference this year is that this Chiefs defense is good. It's really good.
Really freaking good. They got arguably the best CB duo in the league.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And so I don't know how the Chargers get their passing offense going. I think that, it's going to be 15 to 20 targets to Keenan Allen again.
Is it going to be an Eckler checkdown week?
It might be
for my fantasy teams. Oh, man, I need another 20 reception Eckler game. That would be sick.
Yeah, I think it's either going to be that or it's going to be 24 targets to Keenan Allen.
Well, that's already happened once this year, right? Didn't he have catch 18 passes in a game or something?
Yeah, I think they won that game though, didn't they?
They did.
Maybe.
They did. All right, we have two more. The game of the week. I've decided this without your opinion, but it's the 5-1 Dolphins going to Philadelphia.
I think you can trust that I would agree with you on that.
Yeah, I did. That's why I didn't ask. But the 5-1 Dolphins travel to Philadelphia to play the Eagles. Eagles coming off a gross loss, by the way. Dolphins, they've, in the 5 games they've won, they've absolutely curb stomped their opponent.
And in the loss, they got curb stomped.
Yeah. So, this is a good one though. This is fun. I don't think the Eagles have the secondary personnel to contain or even remotely contain Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, especially because we've seen so many weird miscommunication issues on that back end this year with all the safeties in and out of that lineup.
Yeah.
I think Mike McDaniel is going to exploit the crap out of that. I imagine Tyreek and Jalen have big games. What say you, Steve?
Yeah, I want to I think this could be a shootout. I think that we could see Jalen Hurts kind of bounce back this week, but I don't know. You know what? I'm going to this is for Chris Wecht. I'm going to pick the Eagles.
Fire up. I'm picking the Eagles too, by the way.
You are?
I just think they're going to need score a lot of points.
I do too. And I think that the Miami defense, it's exploitable. And I think that the Eagles have the personnel to exploit it.
Yeah, this could be – so A.J. Brown is second in the league in receiving yards, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this could be just Tyreek and AJ Brown in like a heavyweight boxing match, just exchanging blows back and forth.
Just haymaker, 40-yard pass, 30-yard pass, 60-yard bomb.
Yep. And then what's interesting is you could make the argument Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle are the best number 2 receivers in the entire NFL. Maybe T. Higgins gets a shout out in that conversation as well. But I mean, those guys are tremendous players. I think Devontae would be a number 1 on most teams in the NFL, including New England, by the way. Same with Jalen Waddle.
I think most receivers that aren't number 1.
Josh Reynolds would be a number 1 on New England.
I was just saying, like, I think there are some receivers that aren't number 1s that would be number 1 on New England.
Yeah, for sure. So, I'm taking the Eagles too. I think their D-line is good. I think it's proven now that the way to frustrate Tua is to get in his face, pressure him. Now, McDaniel's done a really good job this year scheming around that. The run game, too, being so effective has been good, but you can't run on this Eagles team, I don't think. So
yeah, and that's the big difference is that the Eagles can shut down the run, eliminate play action a little bit, and, force Tua to really think through his progressions.
Yep. All right, now for the 5th consecutive absolute trash Monday night game, we get the San Francisco 49ers heading to Minnesota to play the Vikings. I might not watch this game live, Steve. I don't know. I really might not. I mean, holy crap.
It's great for Brock Purdy that, the week after he really struggles and faces a very, very good defense, he gets to, kind of bounce back, grease the wheels up again and go up against the Vikings defense. That is just not good. They're not good. They can't get pressure. They can't cover anyone. Now they lost Justin Jefferson, and so Kirk Cousins is dealing with that. It's just,
it's crazy too because Danielle Hunter's actually having a pretty good season.
Yeah,
I'm also fully convinced if he didn't play for the Vikings, he'd already be on the Lions.
Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
They got to trade him, right? Like,
there's no way he makes it past the deadline on this team. I think it'd be wholly irresponsible for the Vikings front office to have him on the team.
It'd also be rude to him, a guy who's given you everything for 7-8 years, and to keep him on this team who's clearly about to go into a rebuild mode. Might not even have a QB next year other than a rookie. I mean, they would be doing Danielle a disservice, and obviously the Lions would love to have him. They need him, but I don't think the Vikings will do. Well, they traded at the deadline last year, so I don't know.
They did. It's
not like Danielle's a young player, so they wouldn't be giving him someone who's going to come back to bite them later on. I don't think so.
And I wonder if they lose a couple more games and them being not competitive changes the landscape of their thoughts around that trade, because I think that a lot of that was preseason, and I think maybe the Vikings front office had talked themselves into potentially being a competitive team again this year. If they get to the point of the deadline and they have, they have 3 wins, I think selling their good players to bring in draft picks is the way to go. And they have a rapport with each other, and it'd be fun because I think that Danielle Hunter would be kind of like adding the last infinity stone to what is the Detroit Lions gauntlet on their defense. So pairing him with Hayden Hutchinson on the outside would be fun, but
nasty.
Yeah. The Vikings have a lot to figure out this year, and I think it starts at the deadline with getting rid of some of these veteran older guys. But
we'll probably we'll do a deadline show not next week, but the week after, I think. So
yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean that.
No, it's all right, but scheme up and see what moves contenders can make.
Yeah. 49ers, I'm taking them obviously. Even without McCaffrey or whatever, or Debo might not play either. Sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great situation in my opinion for them to say like, "Hey, we can sit you," because I think we can trust that the rest of our guys can handle their business against this team. Not that I think that everybody gives the respect to the next opponent, but I think they also understand who their next opponent is. When are NFL schedulers going to figure out what teams were fake last year and what teams were actually good, and they're going to put the good teams in prime time? Because for the love of God, Brett, can we get an actually fun matchup between two actually good teams on Monday night, or is that just never going to happen?
You want my honest opinion?
I do.
I think they have figured it out. I think if you understand the way the bidding process works for games, I think the fact that this happens every year is proof that the schedulers give it out, because CBS and Fox get first right of refusal. So they I'm pretty sure the way it works, they get to protect a certain amount of games. Like we're keeping this game on our network, yada yada yada, and then Amazon and Sunday Night Football, NBC and ESPN or ABC get pick there. So, and I'm not sure what I think the hierarchy for those three rotate every week, but so the fact that this game is on Monday night tells me that the schedulers knew this wouldn't be a great game because Fox and CBS chose not to protect it.
Yeah. It's just funny because
for you.
That makes sense, and I think that a lot of I feel like that was somewhat of a surprise. I did not know the ins and outs of that, of like some of that as far as the hierarchy and what they can and can't do. So it's helpful information, but yeah, it just
it would be nice if the NFL stepped in and was like, we want our best games on primetime. We're losing fans actively by putting the crappy games on primetime every week. So
right, because those are the ones that get the most burn. I mean, Monday night, who the hell's, Sundays people have stuff going on. Monday night, who the hell's got anything going on other than to like, hey, I'll tune into the football game, and then they see the New York Giants walk out on the field and they're like, oh, well, this is horrible.
It seems like when we were growing up, Steve, Monday night was a banger every week.
And I don't know if that's just revisionist history or if it's just like being convinced that prime time is like the time and all of that. But yeah, I feel the same way. Okay, it takes until about week 11 where we get a really good Monday night matchup, and that's the Eagles Chiefs.
Oh, okay.
The weeks before that are not good. You got a Broncos. There's a Chargers Jets game, which it could be what it is. It'll at least be interesting. But yeah, week 11, November 20th, we get Eagles Chiefs Monday night, and that'll be awesome. Fun.
Sweet. Looking forward to that. All right, everyone, that's going to do it. We're out of here. Thank you for listening. If you're a audio only subscriber or listener, I still want you to do me a huge favor. Subscribe to the audio only feed on every platform you can think of. Also, go to YouTube. Even if you never watch it on YouTube, go to YouTube, hit the subscribe button. It's Fantasy Points YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button, click the notification bell. Just, we're just looking for a little bit, just a little bit.
Just a little bit of love.
Just a little bit of love there. That just, it does good for the analytics, does good for the sponsorships, the paid ad reads you and Steve and I do every show. That we'll get more money for those. And anyways, yes. Check us out on fantasypoints.com. The data suite is still kicking it. We have a new batch of tools hitting the market, I think, end of week. Maybe I shouldn't say that.
Ooh, doggy.
Very soon. New batch of tools is going to be sick. And then we have the next batch already in development as well. We're constantly adding new cool things to this. The next group of tools, too, is going to be completely focused on simplicity. So one of the things we emphasized with the launch of the data suite was all of these crazy filters. You can break everything down a million different ways. Well, now we're getting back to simplicity. We're building some tools that take all the work out of it for you. You don't need to filter anything. They're going to lay out some really cool data points just so you click the table once and you're looking at it. If you want to filter for a week, then you can do that. If you don't want to, you don't have to. It's going to be pretty dope, though. Check it out. Also, all the content. I know Chris Wecht is dropping his 5 stats to know today. That has been a banger article, something I've been using every week. And all the media appearances I do, I just take Chris's article and it makes me sound super smart on the air. So anyways, check it out. FantasyPoints.com. Fantasy Points podcast feed. Stephen O'Rourke. Follow him on Twitter. Brett Whitefield, follow me on Twitter. I just went over 10K. I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. With that said, we are out.